Do you want to add on crazy amounts of adult students to your school this 2025? Listen, the video that you're about to see is taken from a masterclass where I dug in specifically on how to add crazy amounts of adults to your school. This is especially important if you run a primarily kids-based martial arts school. So check it out. Hey, so we're talking about adding on adults and how you do it in adult classes. I think this was actually your question, Ms. Sarah Beth, so on how to actually do that and the best practices. So I will tell you that before we started really diving into strategies and growing the school and things like that, I would say our school was about 50-50. We had kids and we had adults. And so, of course, we only had 50 students at the time, so we had 25 kids and 25 adults. And when we really went all in really hard on kids, our kids classes started just booming like crazy. And then we had some adult classes and they were kind of strong for a little bit, but then the kids started outpacing the adults like crazy. And it got to the point where my dad was actually like, hey, I think we should just stop teaching adults because I'm tired of coming into class and I've only got 5 or 10 people in the class. I could be doing something else with my time. We could be doing something else with our resources. And I was like, no, we can't let go of the adult classes. We got to have the adult classes. Let's do this. And he said, okay. And so we tried lots of different marketing strategies. So we tried running ads for adults the first go around. I'll tell you about the 2 different times we did it. But the first time we did it, we ran ads for adults. It just wasn't bringing in the people that we wanted to bring in. They weren't ready to enroll, all of that. And then we tried saying, hey, adults, parents, we're running a special, come on into adult classes. And that didn't work either. And so we just went, okay, what's the craziest thing we could do? And I've talked to you guys about volume and volume marketing before. So that's what we ended up doing with our adults. So I'll just walk you guys through step by step, what we did to actually get a really thriving adult program. And when I say thriving, we have, compared to kids, it's not the same. I will say that. Our kids classes, I would say dominates probably there's 375, 400 that are in kids. The other 100 to 150, I don't know exactly the number, but that would be adults. So we still are a very primary kids school. I do want to say that. But we also have a lot of adults that are also filling up our classes. The reason why we don't have more adults is I literally do not have space or time. So the classes are at the end of the night and they're only going to go so long, right? Nobody stays for a 10 o'clock class. So they all go home so they can wake up the next day for work. So we're limited by space and time. And at this point, we don't want to add on additional days. So with teaching adults, here's what we did. The very first thing we did is we started with our parents. Okay. So if you're running classes, you're getting kids involved, that is the lowest hanging fruit, your parents. Okay. Now we had to break through a barrier that we ourselves had created because we had kept parents off the mat. You are not allowed on the mat. Do not step foot on my mat. You're going to get yelled at if you put your toes on the mat, right? We had created this barrier. And so parents were legit scared to come on the mat. Even if we invited them to come to a special class, they wouldn't come. And so the very first thing we had to do is we started incorporating parents into our classes by having certain classes where we had parent involvement. Okay, so parent involvement. And basically what this means is we would announce to the parents, hey parents, just want to let you know next week, we're going to be asking some of you parents to actually come out on the mat with us to help with holding some hand targets. Now there's no offer. We're not offering them anything. We're actually just getting them to come on the mat. And so we did that. We also started having them do other things, like when the kids got their sparring equipment on, instead of the kids going off the mat to their parents, get all their gear, we had the kids sit down on the mat and we said, hey parents, your kids are going to need help with their gear, getting it on. So we want to go ahead and have you guys bow on the mat and come out here and help your kid with your gear. And then we had the parents come out. So again, we had them come out, but it was controlled, right? We're not saying you can come on the mat whenever you want, kind of thing. And that broke through it. The other thing I should also tell everybody, we do not have a barrier between our classes, our mat, and our seating area. There is no barrier. In our old location, we had chairs and there was carpet, and then we had like cubbies that were in place, and that was a barrier. We eventually took that barrier away, so there literally is nothing in between, except now we have stanchions that have a strap that lines the edge of the mat, and that's the actual barrier. But you can see on the mats, you could literally step on the mat if you wanted to, but because we have the stanchions and the string that goes, or the strap that goes from one side to the other, people don't come on. So when we do want them to come on, they can come out there pretty easily. We tell them to take their shoes off, how to bow on the mat. The other thing we also did is we started having white belt success workshops or new student success workshops, and we had the parents come on the mat. So they came back out on the mat at that time. We had them help their kids learn how to tie their belt. And then you could also have them like hold a target if you want to. Ours are so massive, we don't do that, but we do have them tie their belt and they come out on the mat. So we started doing these things. Then the next thing that we did is we had a special that we did around Mother's Day and Father's Day. So for those of you who are here in the States and watching this, Mother's Day is coming up in May, Father's Day coming up in June. And so we had specials that we ran. So I would recommend doing one of two things. Either you need to have a separate Mother's Day workout that's on a different day, same thing with a Father's Day workout on a different day, or you need to have Mother's Day week or Father's Day week. Like you need to have like a week where the parents come out on the mat. So you're gonna have a Mother's Day or Father's Day week, or you're gonna have separate workout. We like having the separate workout because we set up some stuff for them. So on the Mother's Day workout, they'll come in, we have all the moms come in, and we tell them, hey, look, we want your mom, we want your aunt, we want your grandma. We want you to invite a friend and bring their mom with them to the Mother's Day workout. So we make it open to the public. You can also go and you can drop this in the Facebook groups in your community. You can post it, on your Facebook page, Instagram. You can spread the word in your whole entire community about this. So you get the moms to come in, you do a light workout with them and their kids together. And then at the end of that workout, have some refreshments. So we do simple things like, we always host it in the morning. So we have like Nutri-Grain bars and light, breakfasty kind of post-workout snacks, apples, bananas, healthy stuff like that. And we invite them to come, they get their snack, they get their water bottle, they sit down with their kid. And then at that point in time, we come up to them and we book them in for a trial opportunity that we're going to have. So we come up to them at the end of the Mother's Day workout before we do snacks. We say, hey moms, we just want to say thank you so much. We really appreciate you all for being here with us, but most importantly, for putting in all the time, energy, and effort to make sure your kids come to classes. You are the unsung heroes around this. And so moms, here's what we'd like to do. We'd like to offer you the rest of this month absolutely free, no strings attached. You can come into our classes. We'll even give you a free t-shirt as well. We just want you to experience what it's like on our mats and have this special gift from us. So like if you do that with Mother's Day, I think it's like the middle of the month, so you have 2 weeks left in the month and it works out nicely. And you do the exact same thing for Father's Day as well. You give them a couple of weeks, or you can give them a month. I definitely would not give them 6 weeks, but 2 to 4 weeks works really well. And during those 2 to 4 weeks, you have conversation with them about staying. And what we did to actually get this momentum initially is, like back in the day, I think we were charging about $150 a month for the first person, first family member, and then the second family member was right around like 125-ish, something like that. And so what we did, because remember we had only like 5 or 10 people, we went ahead and we did a ridiculous special. We said, if you sign up now, you will get $49 for life. Like, that's it. Now here's why we did that. We only had 5 to 10 students. So when we had a new person coming in the door, like all of our adults had like disappeared, like they fell off and we weren't enrolling new people to replace them. So we needed momentum. We needed our class to start having 10 and 15 and 20 people. So we still wanted them to pay something because we didn't really want, to have no skin in the game, but we made it such a low barrier to entry that people are like, did I hear that right? $50 a month for as long as whatever I do? Yeah, that's it. And so we got them in the door and we started growing out that adult program. Now we stopped doing that once we started having like 20, 30 adults again. But we just did that initially to get the momentum, because that's what we were missing. Once we had the momentum and we had other people coming in the adult class, they were like, oh yeah, this is a cool place to be. I like this community. I like this vibe. And so that's when we stopped doing the $50. We've played around anywhere from like 10 a.m. to like 11:30 in the morning morning. I think this year we're doing 10 a.m. We've done 11. We've done noon as well. Anything past noon, it decreases a ton because you're going to have them going to go spend the day, right? That Saturday as a family or going out of town or things like that. So you'll start losing that momentum, but they will sacrifice like an hour in the morning on that Saturday morning, and then they can finish up the workout, go home, shower, and go to lunch. So that's kind of why we backed away from 12 and we started doing like 10 and 11 o'clock as the time frame we'll actually do that.
And do you do the same for the dads, or do you suggest a different?
Yeah, same exact thing for the dads. Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Cool. So that's what we did to like get that momentum initially. So if you don't have like any adult students, your adult classes are dying. You would say that your adult classes are dying and you don't want to see them die. You have to take massive action. You can't take a little bit of action. So think about the fact that like, you know, if you had somebody that was in the ER, right? Because they were about to die, they're taking massive action on that table in the ER to keep that person alive. They're not just going, well, we'll just start with an IV. So, you know, you got to do the exact same thing. You got to take that massive action in order to keep your adult program alive. Okay. So we started off with that. Then we started incorporating some things that we were going to do from now on to keep that, to keep the adult classes alive. And so I'll tell you about some of the mistakes that we also made with those adult classes in trying to run ads for adults. But before I get to that, I'll kind of go to where we are now. So these are the systems we have in place to make it automatic, and then we'll jump back into the mistakes. So number one system that we have is automatic is when a new kid enrolls, the same day we ask the parent to go on a 2-week trial. So we tell them right away, we say, hey, look, Johnny's getting started, amazing, we're super excited about him. I just want to let you know, we're actually going to give you 2 weeks of free classes. We have 3 different styles that you can choose from. We've got our Kempo karate program, our jiu-jitsu program, our kickboxing program, and we just want to invite you out on the mats. This is something we do for brand new parents. They're coming out here so you can experience the similar things that what your kids experiencing. Here's the class times. What day and time do you think I can book you in for? 2 weeks free on us. And so then we have the parent take the classes for 2 weeks. We're not asking them to sign up on a family rate or doing anything like that. We're just doing that. So that is automatic. The other thing that's also, I just was like, as I was preparing for this, I told Miss Corley, my chief operations, was like, dang it, we used to do this and we stopped. It's just like everything else. You used to do things and then you stop. And so we used to do the same thing at the White Belt Success Workshop, but we stopped. And so I was like, we need to start this again. And she was like, yep, we sure do. So I'm telling you guys, start this again at your new student success workshop, at your White Belt Success Workshop. Do the same offer again. Ask them to sign up for 2 weeks. Okay. You don't have to do 2 weeks. We're just doing 2 weeks. I think that it's pretty easy. If you do 2 weeks, then you talk to them on the first week of their classes about signing up. Okay. Do not wait till the end of the 2 weeks. So they come to the first class and you say, hey, you're here for your first class. Awesome. Blah, blah, blah. Take the class. At the end of the class, you tell them, look, you did a great job. Next time when you come back, I'm going to go ahead and talk with you about our parent special because I think you're going to be a great fit in our community. Everybody wants to belong, right? You guys want to belong. I want to belong. Everybody wants to belong to a community. So you say, hey, you're a great fit for our community. I'm going to talk to you about our parent special. And then on the second class they come back to, talk to them about the parent special right then and there. Now, you don't have to do anything crazy like $47. I'm not saying that, but if your program's dying, I'm just saying, maybe you do that, right? If the program is healthy, then maybe you have a slight discount for family members. You know, we just like having families trained because as families train, they tend to stick together, right? And then we've also got where, so we're doing the White Belt Success Workshop, but we've also got times throughout the year where we invite the parents to take us up on an offer as well. So we do Parent Coach Week. So about once a quarter, we have Parent Coach Week where the parents actually come on the mat and we teach them how to interact with their kid and coach their kid. And then at the end, we have them do some of the martial arts moves in the air or, you know, with a partner, with their kid. And we invite them the same way we did with the Mother's Day and Father's Day workout. We invite them to actually participate. So the whole thing that I'm telling you here is you're going to have to repeat yourself over and over and over and over again about coming on the mat, okay? We even say, like at our black belt test, we're like, hey parents, I know some of you have been hanging out here for the last 4 years watching. Your kid has just earned their black belt. Now is the perfect time to get started, right? Like you've been doing this for 4 years already. So let's go ahead and get started now. So keep those things in mind as well. Cold leads for adults. versus warm leads for adults, which is what we experienced with ads. So I'm going to talk about advertising online, and then I'm going to talk about what organic looks like for adults as well. Done lots of different things. I will say that anything that you do that is a short-term type of fix, like a self-defense class, like I think for almost all martial arts school owners, we go, gosh, the way to get people in is the thing that's like really, really important, which is self-protection, right? And you know, like everybody needs this thing. But if you look at the overall demographics for adults and what they're actually what they personally want in their life, you're actually looking at the smallest sliver of people, right? So self-defense or personal protection, most people don't actually care about it. Not the same way that we do as martial artists. Most people, if we're being honest, believe that they live in a mostly safe world, most people, until something happens, right? And then they go, oh my gosh, I need self-defense. Or their child is about to go off to college and they're like, oh my God, I never did this as a parent. I gotta make sure she knows how to protect herself because goodness knows something bad might happen. But if we're also being honest, a 3 or 4 hour course is gonna give them awareness, which could prevent bad things from happening, but isn't going to give them the actual physical skill and memory to be able to use it effectively in a situation should they need it, because you're going to revert back to the things that your muscle memory has, right? So if you're doing one-off courses or anything like that for adults, just be aware they are only there for the one. That's it. So if you do a one-off, they're there for the one. They're not going to be there for anything else. So organically, you got to think about, okay, with organic, I have to go where people are, and I also have to offer what they're interested in. So out of all the different types of adult programs that I've seen that have actually worked the best to attract the most amount of people, they've all been based around fitness for adults. And I know the vast majority of us are like, fitness. But I'm just telling you, like, if we look at what do adults want, they want to lose weight, they want to look good, they want to fit in. That doesn't incorporate self-defense. It doesn't. Self-defense is a byproduct, right? So if we're going after adults and we want to go very wide to get in the most amount of adults, you're going to want to lean in on fitness. Now you have to decide at what point does fitness stop and what point does martial arts start, right? So for us, we've done 2 different types of programs. So we just had our Kempo karate program, and we added elements of fitness into it. And then we had the more traditional martial arts and non-traditional self-defense techniques in there, but we pointed people more towards that program. The problem was people didn't want to get into a karate gi. That was a barrier. Didn't want to be in a karate gi. The people who were coming in for jiu-jitsu classes were coming in, some of them for fitness, but the vast majority not. If we had an overweight female that was coming into our classes, she was not starting jiu-jitsu. If we had somebody that was coming into an overweight man that was coming into our classes, he was not starting jiu-jitsu. So those are the things that we actually are, looking at as far as that goes. So we have to make sure that we kind of keep that in mind for whenever we're looking at advertising for adults. So if you're going to advertise online for adults, then what you're going to notice is that you're going to need to advertise for fitness and if you're wanting to get a lot of adults, you're going to need to advertise for fitness if you're wanting very low cost per lead. If you do not mind having a high cost per lead and a high cost for acquisition, you can go after self-defense. You just have to remember there's a smaller pool, much smaller pool. So you're going to be paying more for them. I would say outside of self-defense, the next broad thing that you're going to get, and I'll just go in styles. This is what I've seen. I have no attachment to any of this. I'm not saying one style is better than the other. I'm just telling you what I've seen. Most narrow is self-defense. Next, you're going to dip into, I would say, jiu-jitsu and kickboxing, like actual Muay Thai or fighting style kickboxing, right? So that's going to be your next broadest one. Outside of that, you're going to dip into fitness kickboxing, which is different. And in between that last layer of fitness kickboxing and then kickboxing and jiu-jitsu is boxing, actual boxing, not fitness, but legit, just boxing. Right? And so the broadest you're going to get the most amount of leads in is going to be fitness kickboxing or boxing. But you got to know how to do boxing and, not just karate style boxing, but like actual boxing in order to do that. I have one of our boardroom clients, Mr. Taylor. He opened a boxing gym. He's done zero advertising. He grew it from 0 to like almost 200 students in less than 9 months. Because it's boxing. And I think that for everybody, just keep that in mind when you're doing online advertising. You have to be willing to go really broad, or you have to be willing to pay very much for it. But the problem is if you pay too much for your cost per lead, your cost of acquisition skyrockets, just goes through the roof. So if you, let's just say on average, all right, if you're getting, some of you are doing way better than this, but we'll just calculate this. Let's say you've got your cost per lead is $15 a lead. And let's say it takes you 10 leads to get 1 enrollment. That's $150 that you're spending on just advertising alone to get 1. Now, that's cool if your 4-month program, if you're charging, $600, $1,000 for your 4-month program, you spend $150, you got $600 or $1,000 out of it. That's great. But what if you had to pay $45 per lead and it took you 10 leads? That's $450 just to get 1 enrollment. And that's not including a gi or gear or anything else, right? And I'm saying really high, like $45 a lead is very, very high, but it's what I've seen happen with offers that are really, really narrow. So the market is brutal. So if the market doesn't want it, the market won't buy it, which is a good thing. So what else could you do to get the market more aware? Well, you can do video marketing. You can do other things where you're getting in the community. I've also seen people that have fighters that are in their school and that are training in their school because the fighter's getting popular, their school gets popular, right? It's because of the fact that they've got people that are fighters that are in their school and they're driving attention. That's how you do like very, very cold traffic. I don't prefer it. I like doing warm traffic from parents and then getting the parents to refer people from the outside. So parents coming in and then the parents bring referrals. So you should also look at doing a buddy week as well. So like with your actual adult classes where they get to bring a friend. So we don't call it buddy week, we call it VIP week. Makes it sound better. So with VIP week, you say, look, you can invite anybody you want, and we hold contests during VIP week. So every person that they bring in gets them a raffle ticket for whatever this contest is that we have. And then at the end of the week, we draw. Regardless of whether or not anybody signs up from VIP week, we don't want to reward just the sign up. We want to reward the fact that they are actually inviting people to come. Because if they do that on the first week and then they see somebody win a prize, the next time we have it, they're going to be more likely to invite more people back, okay? So other things. So we talked about getting the parents involved and like all that kind of stuff. The other thing that you also want to make sure you do is we want to make sure that we are offering discounts if you really want to get like parents involved into your programs. There's a lot of different ways that you can do this. Some people will charge full price for the first 2 people and then everybody else in the family is free. Some people will do the full price for 3 and then everybody else in the family is free. We attempted that at one time and here's why we stopped. We noticed that when we had somebody who was not paying for classes, they stopped paying attention. And so it was a good lesson for us to learn that we needed to have some sort of skin in the game. Because if I say, I'm not paying anything for classes, it really doesn't matter if I show up or if I don't show up. The only thing that's holding me to it is my desire. But I don't know about you guys, but my discipline and my desire can sometimes go down throughout the day, right? You have good intentions at the beginning of the day. You woke up, you're going to drink all this water that you said you were going to drink. And then, man, that coffee sure does look good the rest of the day, right? Your discipline dissipates as the day goes on. And it's no different with anybody else. So by the time 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock rolls around, they may not have the discipline to actually come to class. But what really, really motivates people is when their spouse says to them, "You're not going to class?" And instead they're like, "No, I just don't feel like it." "Okay, honey, you're not going to class?" "No, I just don't feel like it." "Well, we're paying $50. We're paying $100 a month. You better go to class." Like, these are real conversations that happen between people, right? So it does help them actually get into classes, right? And so that's what we want to look at. And the other thing I would also say is if you are going to have a thriving adult program, and I'm about to open this up for Q&A for everybody, but if you are going to have a thriving adult program, you're going to also want to make sure you're doing events for your adults. So have barbecues, have special classes or trainings, not just like seminars that they pay for, but community related things that they do. Or you've got to create that community environment in your class itself every single time. So simple things like at the beginning of our classes, we bow in or whatever, but we have everybody like knuckle bump somebody next to them and say, hey, it's good to see you, or something like that. Mixing up partner pairings in your classes, right? So do not let them always work with the same partner. You're going to mix your partner pairings from beginners to advanced, different people. We switch partners about 3 or 4 times in a class with adults. They never get stuck with the same person. Because if I want to get a great mitt workout and I'm like, yeah, today I'm coming in, great mitt workout, let's go. And I get paired up with a newbie, I don't mind as long as that's not my only round. I don't mind helping them because that's the environment we created. Yeah, just do it like that. Yeah, cool. But if you stick me with that person the entire class, and then the next class I come back to, you know what that newbie's going to do? Oh, let me go partner up with Jennifer. She was so sweet and nice to me the last time. And now I'm going to be accommodating. And then the instructor is going to go, oh yeah, you're working with a newbie. Thank you so much. What happens is your advanced student quits because they never get to actually train anymore because they got newbie attached and they can't cut the strings. So they just cut training because they don't want to be the mean person in the class and be like, no, I don't want to pair with you. You got to have things like that. If you can create that environment in your class, then you may not need as much community event to create that environment. But it is always good to have that community environment. So, all right, we're gonna start opening it up to Q&A. So, any questions around this? Go ahead and just drop a 1 in the chat, and we'll start going to that. And then I was gonna tell you. Oh, yes, the last thing I was gonna tell you while you guys are thinking about your questions. The other thing that we also did when we redid our online advertising, we stopped trying to advertise for self-defense. We redid our online advertising and we did it for kickboxing. And the kickboxing that we did the ads for was leaning more towards fitness. The challenge, I think, also with having something like that is that you're gonna grab different people, and if it's not exactly like, we don't have a strict fitness kickboxing program. We have a kickboxing program that focuses on kickboxing, and you also get in shape with it as well, right? So that's why we ended up stopped running ads, and we just focused a little bit more on Google ads for generating website leads. But I think that you just have to be very clear, like what you want and how you want that ad to look to be able to attract the right people in. So we were not attracting the right people. We were wasting too much money, and it was bringing in people that were in there like 18, 19, 20 years old. And then they were coming in and they weren't able to afford classes. They were looking for something that was like $49 a month, which is not the offer that we had anymore. So we could not offer that to them. All right, cool. So Jess, I'm gonna start advertising for an adult fitness class. What are the optimal times to run the classes? Morning, night class, lunch class, etc. Okay, so here's my philosophy on morning and lunch classes. I like to view your martial arts school like it's a restaurant. You are either Waffle House, which for those of you who live in the South, Waffle House is a place that you go and it serves waffles and lots of grease and bacon, and it's great, and grits, and it's horrible for you. You should not eat at it at all, but we all do. And it's 24 hours. So you can go in whenever, and it's not expensive. It's very cheap. So you can be like Waffle House or IHOP or something like that, or and they serve all the time, or you are like Ruth Chris Steakhouse or an expensive steakhouse you might go to. They only serve dinner at evening time. I don't know if Ruth Chris does lunch now, but they only serve at that time, right? So you're gonna wanna make sure you decide what you're gonna be. We've never had big morning classes or lunch classes. So I think if you're willing to be there very early in the day, for 10 or 15 students, maybe that makes sense for you. But if you're looking at trying to have a class of 30, 40 people in a class, your evening classes are going to be the better fit for that. This is where you also, with what time to start the evening classes. No matter what you teach, between 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock is your prime time. You just have to decide what is prime. Is it your kids program or is it your adults program? Because if it's your kids program, then you need to fill it with kids classes between 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock. If it's your adult program, then you need to focus on adults between 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock. We focus on kids. So our adult classes don't start. I think our earliest adult class starts at 6:45, just because we couldn't fit in another kids class that ended right at 7. So 6:45 is our earliest time. We've had classes as late as 8:30 8:45 at night, those are really, really hard to fill. So I think our last class right now actually ends at 8:30. So that's our prime time that we have for the classes. So I would focus on, if you're going after adults, then do it between 5 and 7. If you're not going after adults and you're going to fill that with kids classes, then start your adult classes after 7 and have like a 7 o'clock class or an 8 o'clock class. Do kickboxers wear shoes on your mats? Only if they're mat shoes, like they're mat shoes that they wear. We do have mat socks, which are like, they're grippy on the bottom. And so some of them like to wear mat socks. I have some very particular people that don't want to go on the mat barefoot. Majority of people go on the mat barefoot though. You have to decide, again, like, how are you going to give people what they want so you can give them what they need, right? So kind of let that stick with you. How do you give people what they want so you can give them what they need, right? We want to make sure our kids' classes are all engaging, exciting for the kids. Well, what they need is they need discipline and structure. They need to learn the techniques. They need to learn all those things, but we don't package it that way. But for adults, sometimes we forget that they're just grown up kids, right? We are all just grown up kids with the confines of being an adult and hopefully some years of wisdom behind making mistakes and learning from them, right? So our adult classes are fun, where our goal is that you're smiling, you're sweating, you're learning, right? I heard that a long time ago from instructor training college somewhere that I took. You're smiling, you're sweating, you're learning. So we want them to be smiling at some point in the class, be sweating, be learning. Now I'm gonna have some people that are like my, diehard people they're just training. And if they're training and they're getting a great workout and they're just diving into it, then that is them smiling. They're having such a good time that, they don't need to smile. But the brand new person who's coming in, you do want them to engage and to smile and to do all those things as well. So those are super important aspects that you're going to want to dive into with them. Now, let's say that you have just a class and you're like, I don't want to go all into the lean more towards fitness. How do you incorporate fitness into what you're already doing? Well, I think one of the things that you do is you have a designated section of your class that is related to fitness. So that's where you start. You can call it whatever your style is, fit, right? That's all you got to do. And like if we had our Kempo karate program, we used to have a section, we called it Kempo Fit. And in Kempo Fit, it was just basically some high intensity training that we did for a 10 to 15 minute section of class. So we did that. They were dying, they were sweating, they were like, ugh, and they were good. And we usually did it at the end of the class so that way their technique didn't suck. And I think that if you're promising people that you're going to do fitness, if that's what, you're actually promising people that you're going to do, then you need to make sure that you actually are doing some element of fitness, right? So you're going to want to make sure that you're doing that. Because if you promise that for people and you don't actually do it, then you're going to end up in a situation where people are going to quit because what they expected is not what they got. So we can't tell people, not picking on you, Mr. Larry, at all. I'm just using this as an example, but jujitsu, right? So you can't tell people that you're going to get in shape, that you're going to have an incredible body from jujitsu, unless you're actually making them work out hard in jujitsu, and it's kind of the same thing. We can't just automatically say that somebody's going to get in shape just because they're active, because it's not that. Like you gotta have both, right? You gotta be active, and you also have to do the other things that you're designing and trying to do. So any more questions, guys, for today where we wrap it up? All right, cool. So a couple of things that we've got coming up. Some of you guys already have our lead connector software. Please make sure you check your Slack. We sent out some updates to you guys about Susan, our new AI bot that's coming out. So make sure you check that out. And other thing, let's make sure as you guys are coming in and stuff, I know that sometimes we're able to join with cameras on, with cameras off. So we're just kind of making this a blanket moving forward. We really want to keep these Zoom calls interactive, me and Mr. Siegler. So if you're not able to join like with your camera on the entire time, that's okay. But what we prefer for you guys to do is just be on the Facebook Live and watch it, since you're really just watching and listening anyway. And then those of you who are on here, come with questions. We want to engage with you guys. This is your time to connect with us one-on-one, or not one-on-one, but in a group environment, So we're here to serve you guys and everything like that as well. All right, you guys, hope you have a great rest of your Thursday. Talk to you guys later. Bye. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you found this information valuable, make sure you check out this video next.